Hi, caregivers. Are you frustrated because you are not getting the right answers? You might try asking the right questions. I'm Pamela D Wilson, and I'm here today to talk about the frustrations that caregivers are feeling. How many of you feel devalued because the person that you are caring for may not appreciate you, or they may criticize you all the time, or even talk to other people in your family and say that you're not doing the best job you could, or you're not doing the right things, or even that you don't care and you're the only one who's showing up every day? How many of you are frustrated by not getting what you want out of that caregiving situation because you feel powerless or hopeless or helpless? And you're watching everybody else, sometimes your brothers and sisters, your friends, other people that you know, they're out there living their lives, and you're here in this caregiving situation feeling like you have given up everything. How do we approach these concerns to find the right answers to help us solve the problems or improve the situations that we are experiencing? Many times it comes down to understanding the problem and asking the right questions. Let's say that your mom or your dad or someone else, spouse, husband, wife, is feeling poorly all the time. Maybe they have a lot of chronic disease issues. Maybe they have some memory loss, which is a separate issue. Or maybe they're in pain all of the time. Not feeling well and being in pain can make people angry, and it can make the care receiver take out their anger on that caregiver about everything, about the breakfast that you made that didn't turn out perfect, about that tube of toothpaste that you bought at the store that has a twist cap instead of a flip cap, about the fact that you bought the wrong kind of candy. The list goes on, and those of you in these frustrating situations know what I'm talking about. So let's look at what the problem is and how to talk about this. If your parent, spouse, loved one who needs care snaps at you, can you pause and say, wow, it seems like you're angry, or it seems like you're upset. Can you tell me what that's about so that we can work through this? Because I don't feel good when you yell at me or talk to another family member about the fact that you feel like I'm not helping you or I'm not doing a good job when I'm the person who's here every day with you. In other situations, caregivers can feel like they had a really good relationship with this person before caregiving entered the picture. That may have to do with the quality of the relationship and how easy it is for you to have these conversations. Many caregivers think that the problem is one thing and it's something else, which is why it's important to say to your loved one, wow, what's that about? Now, the time that you want to do this is not that time when your low battery light is on. So if we have a cell phone or a computer or some kind of electronic product, there's that warning on there that says beep, 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 or a light flashes and it says low battery. Many caregivers get so exhausted, so tired, so worn out that we're running on low battery, but we may not realize it. And that's when we become more impatient and more overwhelmed, and we feel so exhausted, and we just honestly want to snap or run away from our care situation. The time to try to figure out what's going on and to ask the right questions is not when your battery is running low. It's when your battery is recharged. It's when you've had a good night's sleep or you've done some self-care and you feel able to have this conversation. So the important thing is to ask your parent what's going on and to listen, and then to restate that problem so you can clarify what the problem is. Now, there may be some situations where your parent says to you, oh, you never help me out. You're the worst caregiver in the world, and you've tried just about everything. Then it may be time to start looking at options if you've never done this. And in many caregiving situations, they just happen. We get pulled into them. We're the caregiver, a parent had an accident, and we've just been doing this thing and going through caregiving and coping with the good and coping with the bad, but we never take a step back to look at the big picture, to evaluate the situation, and to figure out what all of the options are. Because when you as a caregiver and your family and your parent or the person for whom you're caring for know what all of the options are, and you can lay all those options out on the table and talk about pros and cons and say, well, if you don't like the way I'm doing this, here are 5 other options. Which one of these would you like to choose? Which one would make you feel better so that I don't feel like I'm not meeting your needs and you're angry with me all the time and you're upset with me all the time? Because as much as this isn't working for you, it's definitely not working for me. So let's find a situation that works for both of us. Many caregivers, when they are emotionally torn and emotionally frustrated, think that they need to seek a therapist. And therapists are beneficial. I have gone to a grief therapist after my mom passed away. Therapists have purposes and causes. But the question is, if you are in a stressful caregiving situation, you're not getting the right answers, and you don't know how to ask the right questions, what is the problem that you want to solve? Is learning to manage your emotions the problem, which would make a therapist the perfect person to go see? Or is the problem something else? Are you trying to learn what your options are in a caregiving situation or in an elder care situation? Do you have issues with getting the right medical care? Dealing with insurance companies, trying to decide between option 1 or 2, learning about the costs of care. How do I manage in-home caregivers? What does assisted living care cost? If those are truly the problems, a therapist who manages your emotional issues may not be the right person to help you solve those problems. And I say this because so many caregivers say, oh, I went to see a therapist and it was expensive and they couldn't help me with my problem. It's because you may have gone to that therapist with a problem that they couldn't solve. If it's not managing your emotions and it's a caregiving problem, they may not be able to help. Let me give you some examples that might help with this. So if you're emotionally upset and you have all these issues and your car breaks down, would you go to a therapist to talk about emotional issues about your car? Or would you go to a mechanic who could actually solve the problem? If you're having financial issues, are you going to go to a therapist to talk about your emotions, about money and your job and everything else? Or are you going to go to an accountant or someone who can help you solve business problems, who actually has experience solving business problems? Sometimes when we go to a mental health therapist, we expect that therapist to know everything and to solve all of our problems. But the problem is they don't have specific experience with what we're looking to do, with what we need to do. If you have caregiving or elder care problems, the person to go to may not be a therapist. It may be an expert like myself who has been in the elder care and caregiving arena for over 20 years. I've done all of these things that family caregivers do because I've been the court-appointed guardian, the medical and financial power of attorney, the personal rep of the estate, the trustee, and the care manager for thousands of care situations. While I may not be able to help you manage all of your emotional problems, and you still may need a therapist, I can take care of all of the day-to-day caregiving questions where you might not be feeling that you're getting the right answers. It's important to learn how to ask the right questions and what questions you should be asking of the people that you're working with. So when you have a conversation with a parent. You want to learn what they're frustrated about so that you could understand what the problem is and actually agree on what that problem is. If you have a medical problem, you go to the doctor and you have conversations with the doctor, but you also want to learn how to have those conversations in the right context. What questions should you be asking to get the answers that you want? Because truly, if we're frustrated in any situation in life, it doesn't matter what it is. Situation at work, situation with our car breaking down, situations with health. We have to learn how to ask the right questions and really determine what that problem is and find out if this person can help us. And I'll give one more example. You are emotional and you've gained weight and you're upset. Who do you go to? Do you go to a therapist? Do you go to your doctor? Do you go to a personal trainer? Do you go to the gym? Which one of those people can help you the most with that issue? That is all about knowing how to get the right answer by asking the right question, by going to the right source who can actually help you solve the problem, identify the problem, and most of all, figure out next steps. Going back to caregivers and conversations with therapists. Caregivers will say, oh my gosh, I've been going to this therapist for weeks and I'm no further along than I was. Might it be that you're dealing with an emotional problem and not really the detailed steps, actions, and solutions that you might want to consider to move forward through that problem? You're just dwelling on the emotional part of it. You're not actually moving forward to solve the problem. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Visit my website, PamelaDWilson.com. You can learn how to set up a personal one-on-one consultation with me. In addition to that, look at my caregiving library. There are plenty of articles. My weekly podcast, The Caring Generation. There are over 80 of those right now that answer common questions from caregivers. I have online caregiving courses. There is a lot of support there to help caregivers end frustration about being stuck in a caregiving situation, not realizing what the problem is, and not feeling like you're getting any answers to move ahead. If you want solutions, you have to start by identifying the problem and asking the right questions. Thanks for watching this video. Please share it with other people that you know. Many caregivers out there are looking for hope, help, and support, and someone they can trust to guide them along the way. I'm Pamela D. Wilson. I'll see you again soon in another video.